Innovation relies on momentum, and that's why we're going even further to support Ontario's innovators.
This is a critical time to ensure that innovation continues to play a very important part to ensure that Ontario becomes a global leader in economic growth.
Science and innovation are a powerful means to overcome our challenges, create new opportunities, and do good for each other.
Their cutting-edge products and services are attracting attention around the world. And more importantly, these collaborations are creating new jobs, generating investment, and strengthening Ontario's economy.
It's quite clear from what I see in front of me that entrepreneurship and innovation continues to be very alive and well.
We now have 19 people that we hired over the past year. The people that we are hiring are all knowledge-based jobs. So we are really creating a high-value job, not only the job itself. So there's two parts to it.
They built a very technologically challenging product and built it in such a way that anybody could use it. From the Colombian drug busts to helping the troops out in Afghanistan.
The My Voice communication aid is a product for people with profound speech and language disabilities. There are millions of people in North America that have a range of disabilities that lead them to be partly or completely unable to speak. And so My Voice is an app that runs on iOS and Android devices that's a better communication aid than those that have previously existed.
I can have my idea, and nobody else seems to think that way, but it's okay for me.
In order for research to be valuable, people need to make informed decisions every moment of our lives.
What makes this so innovative is really how few materials it uses, allowing it to be very low cost.
It's all about innovation.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Corr, and I'm the CEO of the Ontario Centres of Excellence. We are pleased to be hosting this webinar from 111, our joint initiative with OMERS Ventures, which is an accelerator for early-stage companies that are focused on data-driven applications, including big data and high-performance computing, right here in downtown Toronto. I would like to welcome you to this information session, which we are hosting on behalf of the Build It in Canada Innovation Program, or BCIP. BCIP, which is part of the Public Works and Government Services Canada, is now taking applications in response to their current call for proposals, creating an exciting new opportunity for Ontario companies. OCE is pleased to be working with the federal government in reaching out to Ontario companies through this network. Ontario's regional innovation centres and other partners in the One Network have been actively bringing this opportunity to the attention of companies across Ontario and inviting them to participate in this webinar. We are very encouraged by the strong interest in this session from both small and large companies from across the province. Governments are increasingly recognizing the important role that they can play as early adopters of innovative new technologies. Created to bolster innovation in Canada's business sector, BCIP helps companies bridge the pre-commercialization gap by procuring and testing innovative goods and services within the federal government. BCIP targets innovations in 5 priority areas: environment, safety and security, health, and enabling technologies. There is also a military component called Protecting the Soldier. I encourage you to take full advantage of the Q&A session that is part of this event to ensure that you get all of the information that you need. I'm pleased now to introduce you to Manny Argiopoulos from Public Works and Government Services, who will be presenting the program overview. Manny is currently the Chief of SME Stakeholder Engagement for Industry and Government within the Office of Small and Medium Enterprise. He is responsible for supplier outreach and engagement in Ontario, which includes providing information on how to do business with the Government of Canada. I will now turn things over to Manny. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you to your team for organizing this wonderful event to allow us to reach out to your members about our Building Canada Innovation Program. And I will start by giving you a little bit of a context to what the program is, how it came about, and where we're at currently. The slides that you're seeing on your webinar feed are going to be followed in sequence. On the bottom, you have the ribbon that will highlight each section that I'm going to go over. So we're going to begin first and foremost with the outreach that happens and then move our way down right to the final stage and what comes out of the program. Initially, this program was a pilot program called the Canadian Innovation Commercialization Program. It was announced through Budget 2010, and it was a pilot program for 2 years. Since then, in Budget 2012, the Minister of Finance awarded a permanent program to this particular program, and in July this past year, an announcement was made by the outgoing minister that the program was indeed permanent. The commercialization program previously to this saw 84 qualified suppliers come through the program. So there was very good interest in the program, and several businesses were very successful in coming out of the program. So just to put it into the context, and you've heard Tom already mention it, that this is a program that helps support Canadian businesses. First and foremost, it's a program to allow Canadian businesses to bid on the opportunity to qualify. It is assisting them in bridging that pre-commercialization gap. We've been in existence here at the Office of Small and Medium Enterprises for well over 7 years, and we've talked to a lot of businesses. And a lot of them have been telling us that they've struggled with getting their products to market. Well, this is the program that's available through the government currently that will allow them to bridge that gap. Through this program, it will also provide them a real-world evaluation coming out of the program. So it's going to be an endorsement from the Government of Canada that their product was successful through this program. They can use that then to leverage, to sell to the real world afterwards in the real marketplace out there. And then also, it also helps improve the efficiency of government operations. So essentially, it's a win-win situation for business as well as for government, because ultimately, you're applying to have the Government of Canada be your final testers and first purchasers of your innovation. And it helps us to make our systems more operationally more efficient, more green, or cost-effective to the Canadian taxpayer. The Office of Small and Medium Enterprises that I work with is the outreach arm to Public Works Government Services Canada within the federal procurement system. So we are the procurement arm of the federal government, and as such, we go out throughout the regions of Canada. We have 6 regional offices. A regional office here in Toronto is at 4900 Yonge Street in Toronto. We have regional offices, as I said, across Canada. Our Pacific region is located in Vancouver. Edmonton is our Western region representative. We have a national capital region that handles Nunavut. We have a headquarters in Montreal for Quebec, as well as one in Halifax in Atlantic Canada, to handle outreach, to tell businesses out there in Canada about how to do business with the Government of Canada. And seeing as this program is a procurement, it's not a fund or a grant or a tax incentive program, it is a procurement, and as such, it falls to the Public Works and Government Services Canada to manage and our office to administer the program. So as you can see in your slide, we've helped support small businesses for this particular program. We've done outreach to over 30,000 individuals through over 1,000 different events during the CICP and now through the BCIP. As outreach comes forward, we will do outreach to let people know that something is coming down the road. With this particular call for proposal 4 for the Building Canada Innovation Program, outreach began in early November, and the call for proposal, the trigger mechanism to start the process, began on November the 21st. That's when the call for proposal 4 was posted on the new government electronic tendering service on buyandsell.gc.ca/tenders. If you are interested in applying for the program, that's where you would go and download the document. So the trigger actually is the call for proposal. And you'll see on the slide that you're looking at right now, it's done through a competitive process, just like a procurement. The government will procure your pre-commercialized innovation and goods and services for testing and use within a federal government department. So it has to be applicable in some way to government operations. Your innovation must be something the government can use in its day-to-day operations. Bidders are required to select either the standard section or the military component. As Tom had alluded to previously, for the standard section or area, there are 4 categories of interest that we're looking for. They're pretty broad category areas. They encompass a lot of goods and services, what we call commodities within the procurement system. These categories, of course, are environment, health, safety and security, and enabling technologies. That is the core that was previously part of the CICP. In this call for proposal and the new Building Canada Innovation Program, we've also introduced a secondary stream for military procurement. And this focuses on call for proposal 4 on protecting the soldier. In each one of these cases, if you go to buy and sell tenders and you look and investigate the call for proposal that's out there for yourself, you'll see that the government has identified certain priority areas with each category group. Now, if you fall under one of those categories, you may look to apply. If you don't find that you fall under one of those category groups or commodity codes we call GSINs, Goods and Services Identification Numbers, there is for each of the standard criteria a section where you can go to and select other. So like for example, environment other if you don't fit into one of the focal areas. However, for the military side, there is no other. It has to be the main commodities or GSIN codes that are identified for protecting the soldier. This is also a program that allows you to submit your bid online. First for procurement, through the CICP, we had an online submission where now suppliers can go download the tender document and actually fill out a template to submit their proposals for technical evaluation and possible qualification for this program. In the slide that you're looking at here, the call for proposal, as I mentioned, is the trigger. What you need to consider is the following. As I said, the innovation side of things for the standard side has similarities to the military component. In fact, they share commonalities in the mandatory criteria that need to be met. The mandatory criteria that I'm talking about is the lines here that say it cannot have been sold commercially previously. That is, your innovation cannot have been sold previously. If you have sold it previously, obviously this program is not for you, that you wouldn't be qualified for this program. It also has to be provided by a Canadian company. That is, a Canadian company with a Canada Revenue Agency number here in Canada and doing business in Canada, and have the IP rights to that innovation. It also has to be a product or an innovation that is 80% Canadian content. Whatever it takes to build or to put together this innovation, it has to be 80% Canadian content. And there's clear definitions of all these terms and conditions in our buyandsell.gc.ca website under the innovation webpage. The slight differences between the two streams, you'll see here that in terms of the standard stream, you'll see that your proposal or your test plan proposal for qualification cannot exceed more than $500,000. That is the upper limit, excluding all applicable taxes and shipping, which are extra. So in essence, when you're applying to qualify for this program, Whatever your test plan will be to have the government department test that innovation out, make that first purchase, cannot exceed more than $500,000 for the standard stream. In terms of the military side, this is slightly different. Here, the value is $1 million for your submission. In the Stream 1 category, there is actually $17 million that is available for this particular call for proposal, and for the military side, an estimated value of about $5 million, for a total of $22 million. So how do you get involved? What is it that you have to consider before you apply, or if you should or should not apply for this particular program? One of the things that is important for you to look into is at what stage of development is your particular innovation at. Currently, for call for proposal 4 and the previous calls for BCIP, for CICP, call for proposal 2 and 3, you have to have your product or innovation at technical readiness level 7 to 9, really at that late stage development, pushing the door to commercialization. This is the area where you will be getting scoring on. If you do not meet these particular requirements, you will not be able to qualify for this particular program. As you can see here, if you are, have an innovation where it's in design mode, you've just built a prototype, it's not for this program. You can see here we've adopted the military standards from the U.S. military for technical readiness levels. We need it to be at technical readiness level 7 to 9. And for example, if you're at technical readiness level 7, where you're at a prototype, planned operational level, requires demonstration of an actual prototype in an operational environment, that will get you past the qualification stage, but you may score not as high as technical readiness level 9, for example. The higher you score in your technical readiness level, obviously the better you are at being scored highly and ranked higher in the competition. So technical readiness levels is something for you to consider. You also need to prove in your test plan that you are a significant improvement to the current state of the art. Ultimately, what will happen is our officials that will be evaluating this particular call for proposal will be looking to see how much of an improvement to the state of the art your innovation is. So if I can give an example, if you have a widget of some sort and this innovation can be applied to government operation and you pre-qualify, you need to show to the government department that your innovation is indeed a significant improvement. One of the examples that's used frequently is the iPad of Apple. If you, for example, develop a new iPad version that is a significant improvement, so iPad 1, you had some very good functionality to it, but when iPad 2 came out, there wasn't much difference. But now when you move to iPad 5 or Air, there's a lot of improvement and enhancements to the device, and it is a significant improvement to previous versions. Similarly, things like medical devices, or if you're in the medical field, if you develop some type of a medication that prolongs the life of cancer patients, for example, by 5 years, something currently in the marketplace that only can prolong life by 1 year. Certainly that's a significant improvement. But if you have a cure for a disease or cancer in that matter, that is the state of the art, you're scoring quite well. As well as if you have an innovation that is totally revolutionary, that there's nothing to compare it against, you certainly are going to be the state of the art. So these are things to consider because our partners in this program, the NRC, National Research Council of Canada, their technical ITAs are the ones that are going to be doing the evaluation, and they're going to be scoring you on your technical readiness level capacity and your state-of-the-art significance. So in the diagram you're seeing here, you really want to score well and be in that upper right quadrant of this chart. Highest technical readiness level and high state-of-the-art. So how does it all work? Obviously, you need to consider whether this is a program for you to apply for and to qualify for. And as I mentioned, you can find a call for proposal on buyandSell.gc.ca/tenders. But essentially, our partners in this are NRC IRAP, and they will be doing the technical evaluation. So in front of you, you have a slide that's an example from a call for proposal 2. If you were looking to submit, the evaluations, the submissions were made for call for proposal 4. We received 337 submissions for call for proposal 4. If you submitted, you will be vetted first and foremost by Public Works Government Canada procurement officials to screen you in and to see whether or not you've passed the mandatory criteria. And the mandatory criteria I have mentioned previously were those mandatories. You know, you have to be a Canadian bidder, you have to fall in one of the category or stream areas, have to be 80% Canadian content. Those are the mandatories. So they'll go down the list and they'll check off each one to make sure you've qualified. And if you do not, then you will not proceed in the competition. In the example that you see here, from 337, it was whittled down to 335, only 2 that didn't qualify by Public Works officials. Those names and qualifiers then are passed on to the technical evaluation stage. And at this particular point, the technical evaluation begins into 2 parts. The technical NRC ITAs are provided the submissions. All 335 are looked at. And again, stage 1 of the technical evaluation will look at your technical readiness level and your state-of-the-art significance. And they'll look and it'll give you a pass or a fail. If you do not pass because you're technical readiness level 5, or if you are not a significant improvement to the state-of-the-art, you will not be given an opportunity to proceed. So you will be found non-compliant and you will not proceed to the next qualification stage. In the example, you'll see they had 335 and this was whittled down to 169. Then the technical side, the second stage happens, and the technical evaluation of your test plan is done. They will thoroughly look through what you suggest is the test plan for this. They will look again at your technical readiness level and how you meet that technical readiness level, and then why you are a significant improvement to the state of the art. And they'll assess you and give you point-rated criteria against that. So in the example, you can see we whittled it down to 169 qualifiers for call for proposal 2. So how will your proposal be evaluated ultimately? We've already mentioned this. You will be looked at in terms of innovation. You really need to demonstrate that that the innovation is an advance to the state of the art. You need to show that clearly. You also have to tell us and show us that you are at readiness level 7 to 9 at pushing commercialization. Because we are looking for late stage development, this is a program simply for those products. If it's another level, this program may not be for you, but there are other federal departments that are out there that have innovation programs that may be more suitable to you. Our colleagues at NRC have their IRAP program, as well as NSERC has their education grant, and CRA has their tax incentive program that you can look at. And there's also FedDev and FedNor that also have opportunities for early stage R&D development and funding programs. You're also going to be looked at for your test plan. And this is where you have to prove to us that, you know, the government's going to need X amount of my innovation to put in their facilities to test out for this duration of time. You're the one that's going to tell us exactly how much it's going to cost for us to take that on. And ultimately, you need to demonstrate your capacity for commercialization. You have to have the business plan and your IP strategy in play to move through this program, and ultimately when you receive that final confirmation at the end of the program, that referral from the Government of Canada that we've done that testing and you've gone through our program, you can use that and leverage it to commercialize your product. We're really trying to put Canadian innovation on the world stage to be successful. Now, in terms of the validation committee, this is a second level evaluation that happens after the technical authorities score and rank and pre-qualify the submissions that had qualified. The validation committee is consisted of a variety of private sector individuals. In previous calls for proposals, these people happen to be entrepreneurs in residence, but this time it's a combination of private sector validation. So what they'll do is they'll take the technical ITA scoring and ranking, they'll evaluate and assess them, and provide back feedback and recommendations to the technical authorities based on what their reviews were of the scoring. Now, the ITAs may take the recommendations into account and adjust scoring, but ultimately the rankings are put forward and final qualification happens. The good thing with this call for proposal, we have a new thing that's come part of this program now. Previously, you would have had to wait until the end of the entire exercise to be notified whether you were successful or not. In this particular call for proposal, what happens is if you do not proceed, let's say in the mandatory section, you'll be notified right away that you weren't successful. You'll be provided a debrief, and everyone is provided a debrief. In actuality, you're told exactly what happened and why you didn't qualify, and then you can use this perhaps later on for submission to another call for proposal. But essentially, you'll be told ahead of time so you don't have to wait until the end of the call for proposals and pre-qualification announcements to hear that. So another example of how the pre-qualification innovations work and how we score and rank. The example in front of you here shows you an example whereby bid 63 was the highest scoring technical proposal, and they were scored and ranked first in the call for proposal. You see a list of other bidders that had qualified and their scoring. So they're ranked highest to lowest. Based on their financial costs and the amount of money that is allocated for each call, like I said, this call for proposal, there's $17 million for the standard stream, and there's $5 million available, roughly, or estimated, for the military component, for a total of $22 million. So as long as there's a pool of money available, they'll go down based on your financial proposal and allocate to those qualifiers until the pool of money is exhausted. And that's why you see at bid 297, for this hypothetical example, the money flow stops there. Based on the proposal funding that is provided through the proposals that qualified, we only have money to go to bid 297. And that's the focal area that will be then focused on to try and find matching departments to do the testing. So what things you need to consider, basic things to consider for your proposal, is things like your purchasing, like your shipping costs, if there's going to be any, even installation costs, if you need to go to some remote area in our department facilities across Canada, what that will entail and how much that will cost, any support that will take part or is going to be included, as well as training you may need to carry forward to train some of the federal officials to get that particular innovation tested. So all things to consider when you're doing your proposal. But it's important to note, no one in the government can assist you in building your proposal. Ultimately, you as a business person will need to make that decision and write an effective proposal to try and qualify based on the requirements of the program. I have to reiterate as well as state that this is an overview of this program. This is not an online bidders conference, so we will not be focusing any attention on any technical questions that come through. If there are any technical questions that need to be asked about this program, they need to be directed accordingly through the federal procurement process to the contracting authority that's on the call for proposal 4. And that individual's name is Francois Pajot. So if you have any technical questions and we can't answer them here today, we'll take them back and we'll submit them to the technical authority. He may directly talk to you or answer you if he can, but ultimately what will happen is he will amass all the questions, and before the call for proposal closes, post an amendment on buy and sell tenders with all the questions and answers that he received. So keep that in mind. So ultimately then, if you are one of the lucky pre-qualifiers for this program and you've been matched up, you will be, our innovation management team in our Public Works office in Ottawa will look to match you with a test department. One of the good things that you can do and some of the research that you can put forward into your proposals, if you've done some research and talking to our departments, you can include that in your proposal. Now that's not going to score you points in your technical scoring, but it will help you if you do qualify and you're scored well and you are one of the pre-qualifiers to have our innovation management team quickly match you up with that department you've identified, and this way move forward through the program more efficiently and quickly. Otherwise, our innovation management team will work with you and our federal departments to try and match you and ultimately get you through the program and award a contract for your testing. The last slide here is an approach shot, an overview of how cyclical a program this is. There is a trigger. The trigger is the outreach, and from that, the main trigger is the call for proposal. Once the call for proposal is announced, like call for proposal 4 was on November the 21st, it will be open for a period of time for businesses to technically submit their proposals online. The closing period for this call for proposal 4 is January the 7th, so there's not a lot of time for this call for proposal. If you feel pressured and you think you can't submit now, not to worry, this is a permanent program, and we will be doing further outreach throughout the year and in the new fiscal year for the Government of Canada 14-15. If there are any questions, logistical questions, you can certainly contact my office, our office here in the Ontario Region, Public Works, 4900 Yonge Street in Toronto. You can also talk to and send emails and questions to our innovation team at innovation@pwgsc.gc.ca. I also encourage you to download the tender, to call for proposal, to evaluate for yourself if this is a program for you. You can only find the tender on the authoritative source for the federal government for tenders, and that's buyandsell.gc.ca/tenders. If you need to learn more, Buy and Sell is the website for you. And with that, I close off my seminar. I also wanted to thank again OCE Discovery for their event here today and for allowing us an opportunity to speak to your membership and to provide this information session to you. And with that, I've been asked by our great hosts at OCE to remind everyone that's online here today that the OCE Discovery 2014 will be taking place early in May 12th to the 14th. And we hope to see you out there because we will likely be partners in that as well. We have been in the past several years to talk to you about procurement with the federal government and the innovation program that we have available for Canadian businesses. And with that, thank you for attending here today and making this a wonderful webinar for us.
Discovery is all about getting the key players in the innovation space together for the opportunity to connect and reconnect.
It's a great event. I'm amazed at the range of groups that are represented here. I think it's great for organizations and for entrepreneurs.
This is our 4th year attending the OCE Discovery, and we come back each and every year because we find there's so much value to being able to share what we do with our Ontario community.
Once a year opportunity for 2 days to see what every innovator in the province is doing, and they're all here under this roof.
It's more about innovation. It's refreshing.
Just come to Discovery and you'll see how bright the future is going to be.